Georgia.
Players to learn the game a little bit faster. So.
Yeah, went by Hugh Griffin, all the way from the UK, and Vickers Miranda, Vuyo Zanga, former Blitzbokke, former assistant coach at Blitzbokke as well, and Kenya, I think, as well, right? Yeah, Jade is jumping on a wee bit later. Hugh Griffin, how are things? How are you doing? How was the weekend?
Good, man. It's still sunny, still hasn't rained for a long time here in the UK. So keeping cool, and finally a big lot of rugby is behind us.
Yeah.
So hopefully a bit more manageable, not trying to watch 10 games in one day anymore.
Yeah. Staying up late until 11 from 7 a.m. every Saturday. Vickers, how are you? How's the weekend? Not too busy, I hope?
Yeah, good, bro. So I'm just glad the Soccer World Cup is finishing today because
I forgot about
waking
this.
up at 3 o'clock. so the game started at 3 o'clock here.
A.M.
So I've got my watch set. As soon as we're done with the space, I'm gonna hit the bed and then hopefully wake up. But it's been good. Been doing some lot of research and trying to get my players to learn the game a little bit faster. So I've been trying out some new things. Yep.
No, fantastic. In the news, making headlines, congratulations to the Junior Springboks going back-to-back in the Under-20 World Cup hosted in Georgia. They beat France, I think it was 16 or 19-0 or 19-3 or something like that. Not sure what the final score was.
16-5.
16-5. There we go. Former Blitzbokke Francois Venter has decided to retire from rugby. Apparently, he's had multiple issues with concussion, unfortunately. I think he's 34, 35, if I'm not mistaken. Argentina coach Felipe Contepomi accused England of showing lack of respect after abruptly ending his post-match press conference. Apparently, England were bumping loud music next to the conference room, and Contepomi just abruptly stood up and left the press conference, unfortunately.
Scoop.
Yeah.
Scoop. Can I interrupt there? But I want to congratulate Argentina on peak shithousery for rocking a La Sportive 1986 replica of Argentina when they had the hand of God and playing that first game against Australia. I mean, against England.
No.
Look at the two kids, my guy. Look at the kid Maradona wore and look at the kid they wore last night. Peak shithousery.
Argentina. I mean, we expected a lot from them, but they didn't show up, I think, last night. Good news for Springbok fans. Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu will be traveling with the Springboks to Argentina. I think the Springboks play Argentina on the 8th of August. That's good news from them. And also, Henry Pollard is fit and ready to go. Apparently picked up a hemi, so that's why he couldn't start this game, unfortunately. And Les Kiss is finally taking over Joe Schmidt. Oh, my goodness. I'm sure a lot of Australian fans will be happy to hear this. And obviously, Wallabies giving Joe Schmidt a good send-off last night with a massive win against Italy. Without wasting any time, actually, Jade, how's it going, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, Scoop. I'm doing good. I mean, it's been a lot of rugby and a lot of pointless games yesterday besides the two games, actually. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Stat padding Springboks against Wales. Anyway, without wasting any time, we're going to kick things off with the Allblacks Ireland game and then jump on to the Springboks and Wales. After that, we're going to be discussing some kicking stats. Whether we see kicking as a viable option after watching these 3 tests, or is it better to keep the ball in hand and continue phase after phase, multiple phase play? There's been a lot of debates. I was watching the Irish pundits talking about this as well from their side post-match. And obviously, there's been some few conversations on the socials as well about these kicking elements or ways of attack. But regardless, Jade, let's kick it off with you, man. All Blacks, what's your rating, actually? What is your rating for this All Black side, these past 3 tests, and what's your rating for Dave Rennie?
7 out of 10. Is that fair?
You're a bit faint. You're a bit faint. Can't hear you properly.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, better.
I think 7 out of 10. Is that fair? I think 7 out of 10 is fair. I think, you know what? There's a lot of things they can work on. I mean, Scoop, if we look at it, we expected them yesterday to dominate Ireland at scrum time. They hardly did that. They've hardly been scrumming with dominance. You know, they've been solid at scrum time, bar the 1 or 2 penalties against France, 1 penalty against France, and last week against Italy. But they've been okay at scrum time, and I think they can do better. I mean, they've got the cattle to do better, and also with the new law variations according with the maul, I think they can put more emphasis in their maul. I think their maul has been very mild, if that's the word. They've been, even if they go for the 5-meter line out, or they haven't been getting ascendancy in maul time. So I think that's 2 areas they can really focus on, you know, if they are going to put up a fight in South Africa. The other thing is that the defense improved. Let's be honest, the defense improved, but you're still leaking 2 to 3 tries a game. But that's the way, the rugby game has gone now, you know, but they've been much, much more dominant on defense. They look much, their defense shape is much better. I mean, Vuyo will get into it a little later on. I mean, he's been the one that's been stating for years that the All Blacks use the touchline as a defense, but now you're seeing more line speed and you're seeing more dominant tackles and big hits. And obviously the attack shape is much, much better. Much, much better. I mean, sometimes you just want some structure. However, I think Dave Rennie come in, he's coming with his plan. And yeah, they need to get fitter. I mean, we saw yesterday that after what was it now? It was 5 halves of rugby playing at that pace and that intensity. It took on them yesterday in the second half. They couldn't keep up that intensity. So yeah, they need to get a little bit fitter. But yeah, I think a 7 out of 10. They've been together for 3 weeks now. A 7 out of 10. They'll get stronger on the SA tour, and hopefully by the end of the year we can make another judgment on them for the year. But I think they're okay. They're decent. A few guys that's taking opportunities. And the other thing is, there's been a lot of chit chat on social media, especially last week after the announcement with Italy test, stating that the All Blacks don't have depth and they're selecting the same players over and over. Dave Rennie selected 32 players. He used 32 players in these 3 tests. That's okay. That's okay, you know. It's only Bowden Barrett, Scott Parker, and Kyle Preston that never got game time, but the rest of them all got game time, and I think that's okay, and that's decent. And if you're looking at it, I mean, Bowden Barrett being in the squad there, he does offer that, you know, experience, and he helps prep the guys up, you know, for the test match, and it's an asset in that aspect. And I mean, he's stock fit, so if you call on tomorrow, you'll know what to do. But yeah, that's okay, and I think that's been one of the main talking points. You know, is he going to create depth? How do the depth chart look? But I mean, 32 players used in the last 3 games is okay. So yeah, 7 out of 10 from me.
Fair. But now getting into the nitty-gritty, Vickers, in terms of the game itself yesterday with Ireland, I mean, Ireland having rested some of their players for the Japanese game and having ample time, right, to rest, prepare well. Jameson Gibson Park said it even on Thursday that they're well prepared. They're much more well rested this time around. The other 2 occasions they didn't meet the All Blacks in the right time of the season after playing too much rugby, he said. But now, much better prepared, got enough rest, but yet, first half, 28-7. What do you make of the game itself? What did you notice out of this game? And what do you make of Ireland, man? They didn't show up at all in that first half.
Yeah, Scoop. First things first, it's not always beneficial for you to not
Rest.
have that intensity going into that following weekend. Because at the end of the day, as you can see, the intensity of the way the All Blacks were playing and the intensity of Ireland, they slacked a bit. I would have rather put the players on the field and rather give them like a 45 to 50 minute. That's still enough for a professional rugby player. That's more than enough. That they wouldn't feel the impact as much, or unless obviously you're a big ball carrier, then it differs. But in terms of just the scrum half,
sorry, Vickers, not to cut you. Remember the Springboks did the same thing when they had Earburn and Kwacha and those guys flying to Auckland,
Yes.
or was it
Yes.
Albany flying to New Zealand though, but like a week before, etc.
And it didn't go according to
and
plan.
and they were very slow in that first half
Yeah,
until
exactly.
like second half. Yeah.
Exactly. So these are the kind of things that you think it's gonna work better for the body, but it doesn't, because the training can never be the same as the game. And at this level, at the test match level, it's a lot more difficult to get up there. On the rating part, I would go before this game. I think New Zealand was sitting at 6, but after this game, I would say 7.5.
Oh wow.
I think this game pushed them up a little bit. I think for me, the things that I noticed on defense was, I don't know if you guys picked it up. They weren't competing a lot at breakdown.
Yes.
Rather, they were scanning. They were getting the numbers off on their feet. So So the RTT return to play, RTP, sorry. So they were getting a lot of return to play quite a lot. They got the width. They got the width on defense quite a lot. And then if you notice, Scoop, their line speed was a lot more aggressive, and they were making a lot more double hits.
Yeah.
Yes, and they were holding players up, so which was also another positive. So if I would rate Tana at the moment in terms of his defense, he's got the right recipe. But obviously now it's the SNC part that has to come into play, as Jade said.
Yeah.
The intensity of the game, you have to keep up with the intensity. And if you notice, Scoop, if you remember, New Zealand never used to do the outside-in defense. Now, all of a sudden, as soon as there's a back pass, they're shutting the players behind a lot more quicker. That's impressive for me. So it's going to start forcing teams to throw the bridge pass. And again, that is a 50-50 pass, if you call it like that. and if you look at the tackle they made on Ringrose, the double tackle they made on Ringrose, that's exactly what they want. They want those players to get the double tackle, hold them up so they can make a turnover. Yeah, Jade already mentioned one of the parts is the scrums. Scrums are not dominant. I don't know what happened there. Not impressive, but I mean, at the end of the day, Lomax went off and then he came back on. I thought the hooker, I can't remember, Amoa, I think he did well when he came on. I would be surprised if he doesn't start against the Springboks, because I think he was a lot more dominant when he came on
Taylor.
in terms of than Taylor. And I think Taylor's got experience. I think maybe Rennie will have to settle on Taylor, using Taylor as a experienced second half impact more than starting, because the game is going to be at hard intensity. So for me, I would rather have a guy like Amoa who's going to blow for that 50 minutes and then obviously bring in experience in the second half. Attack-wise, I don't know if you guys picked it up. Attack-wise, actually quite interesting is that for the first time, New Zealand stopped attacking with the 10. From the touchline, from the middle, the 10s were never getting the ball. It was always the scrum half who was getting passing to the forwards.
Yeah.
And at some time, they even had like a four-player forward pack where they were passing to the fourth player.
Yeah.
So I don't know how. Yeah. So that was quite interesting for me. So again, it comes in with Rennie, having experienced the European teams, having coached in Europe for many years.
Yeah.
So he understands the game a little bit from an outside perspective, whereas a guy like Reza, if we're talking about, he's only had the New Zealand experience in terms of that. But for me, I think so. But for me, for Rennie, I think he's coming in with something nicely here. Yes, it might not be the perfect tour in South Africa. Yes, they might want it to be the perfect tour, but it might not. But there's something he's building for next year's World Cup, because that's ultimately the most important one.
Big prize.
Yeah. So, and then if you look at Ireland, I don't know, Scoop, they were not impressive for me. Guys, I'm not sure. I mean, Hugh can probably jump in here. He's got more experience in the European side of things. I don't think Sam is the perfect guy for the Irish team. I think they need to find a 10. They need to find a 10 fast.
Where are they finding this 10?
But he's not the guy. If you are Ireland seeing Sam now and you saying that you're going with this 10 to the World Cup next year, forget about the quarterfinal.
Wow.
Round of 16, you're gone. Round of 16, you're gone. Forget about the quarterfinal. That's my bet. I don't think I'm going to dwell on too much on Ireland. I just think that the players weren't great. They were average for me.
I mean, Dan Sheehan was very quiet.
Yeah, very
for
quiet.
Such a phenomenal hooker. He's one of the world's best.
one of the world's best. I mean, everyone is saying he's one of the world's best. You got a Gibson Park at scrum half. We didn't see much of him. You've
Yeah,
got
true.
you've got
Gibson Park was
you've got the
quiet.
top ring rows at 13. We didn't see much of him. Yes, he made
Mm.
one or two. I think two crucial things he did in the game, but not much.
Bandiaki came on, and there was no
and
real impact.
There was no real impact. You got. I think the probably the one guy who tried a lot in that back line was Keenan at the back. He caught quite a couple of nice bombs. So I don't think he was that bad. I think he was okay. Other than that, there's nothing really to dwell on. I think Ireland. I don't know. Scoop. We've been talking about Ireland for a long time, and you even said. I think you even said that they seem to be on a dip. I don't know how long we're gonna keep talking about this dip. Yeah,
it's starting, and the cracks are showing. I think even from the six, but I mean, there was an improved performance in the Six Nations after a terrible start with the big loss against France, and they picked themselves up after that. I mean, they are Triple Crown champions. Beat obviously England's not in the best shape or best form. Wales are not in the best form either. Scotland seem to falter every time they face Ireland, but regardless of that, they really didn't show up. I mean, I'm looking at the All Black game and I'm thinking All Blacks also didn't kick a lot of ball to them, so maybe they thought that they would be getting a lot of ball. I mean, if you look at ball possession in that first half and territory, everything is over the 60s for the All Blacks in that first half, if I'm not mistaken. And keeping ball in hand as well. I mean, is the importance of it. I mean, from an All Black perspective, I think they're trying to force teams to make a lot of tackles against them, and also the access between McKenzie, Jordan popping out from left and right wing. And as Dave Rennie said, the jersey, the number on the back is just a number. We want players to be working all around the park. I mean, you saw a lot of Morby punching in the middle. You saw a lot of Caleb Clark punching in the middle. Not you really getting a lot of ball from the width, but getting a lot of ball in the middle of the park as well. So they were creating a lot of different pictures for Ireland. But the Irish, I don't know, like you said, I think Pendergrass, yeah. But I know the problem is now, where do you find that 10? Because if you haven't seen the 10 in the past 3 seasons, at least, there's no way they're getting another 10 for the World Cup, unless they do something drastic with Teddy Pendergrass. Hugh, give us your thoughts on Ireland, actually, first and foremost, and then your rating of the All Blacks under Rennie in these past 3 tests.
Yeah, Ireland massively disappointing for me, especially in that first half. Really didn't show up. There was sometimes, I think there was a particular moment in the first half where they had a transition and they needed to spread the ball right, and they got the ball to Gary Ringrose and he just ran into the first person that he could find. And the commentator that I was watching, the Irish commentator, just went mad basically. It was just that's so poor for international outside centre to not be able to make more of that situation is not what you expect, and it just kind of plays into the greater narrative of this team of lacking X factor, lacking pace, aging players who aren't necessarily performing anymore. I think pretty much everybody had an off day. I mean, what about that crazy try just after they scored in the first half, where it looks like they're in their own 22 and it looks like Sam Prendergast calls it out the back and Stu McCluskey throws it to nobody, and it's the easiest try that Will Jordan has ever scored. And you're kind of thinking, okay, why is the Prendergast calling it out the back there? But then also, why are they listening to him? The Stuart McCluskey's not a young kid. He should have just taken the ball into contact and ignored him basically and cleared your lines. There's things you do and don't do, and I think Rory Brest said in his halftime analysis, he said there was 4 different players there who thought that 4 different things were happening. So that's kind of a bit inexcusable, to be honest. And can you blame Farrell for that, Andy Farrell for that? I'm not sure. But the fact that Andy Farrell is signed up on a long-term contract, I think everybody thinks that this team is going to need a big refresh at some point and new thinking and new ideas. And you could do that with Farrell in charge maybe. But the thing that I've been saying about Ireland for ages is the lack of changing up their assistant coaches. There's no new ideas coming into that setup. There's no new skill sets coming into there's no new voices coming in. And I think they are getting very stale now at this point. They're trying to freshen it up, bringing new players in, but if you're just giving the new players the same ideas and the same coaching, they're just going to turn into the old players at some point. So I think, yeah, Ireland.
Is there even a
massive.
9? I mean, a good 9 after Jameson Gibson Park?
Well, a lot of Irish fans would say Craig Casey, but it doesn't seem like Andy Farrell rates him.
Yeah, he's not the best.
So yeah,
I don't think he's...
it doesn't feel like there's anything new going on in that team at the moment. From an All Blacks point of view, I'm actually a bit more positive about the All Blacks than you guys. I think that were they perfect? No, but they seem to have a bit more about them. They seem to have a bit more confidence about them. They seem to have a bit more kind of purpose on the field. You know, a lot of the times under Razor, I was watching them and I was like, it didn't seem like they knew what they were going to do next or what they really wanted to do. I think that they've got a bit more purpose about them now under Dave, and I think that comes down to selection and maybe not overcomplicating the game plan either. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I do think that this is a very solid start for the All Blacks under Dave, in my opinion.
No, fair. We haven't, Vickers, you want to jump in? Well, also, we haven't touched on Tupovai at number 6. I mean, he looked quite impressive. He looked very athletic, actually. Sometimes, I don't know, when he's playing 5, you don't see that much athleticism because he's probably involved in a lot of breakdowns, and also probably playing between the 2 15-meter lines. And now we kind of saw him in the tram lines, with space, and when the All Blacks were using a bit of width as well, cutting back inside, which looked pretty decent, and then also becoming a line-out option. And I thought the All Blacks line-out was much better this weekend than it was in the other 2 weekends against France and Italy, getting clean ball this time around, which was impressive. Scrums, as Jade and Vuyo have mentioned as well, it's pretty much stable. But we're not seeing any dominance in that area as well. And I think mentioning the new laws at maul time, I think they could try and get teams to be pinned a lot when you do the maul. Yeah, you can jump in, Vickers.
No, I just wanted to comment on what Hugh spoke about their new ideas and everything. And if you guys remember, Tomati Allison, he was helping out with Razor, and we spoke a lot about him in just his depth in terms of the game, how his game knowledge is, how much experience he has, and he's been coaching longer than the 2 guys that are in there for Ireland, which is the lock, what's his name, O'Connell, and obviously the fly half. I think he's still there. I'm not sure if he's still there. Sexton. I don't know if he's still involved.
I think he's still involved. I think so.
Yeah, so you're looking at 2 new guys here coming in straight into retirement into the national team. That will happen. That will happen. And I think a lot of people don't understand and don't they underestimate the importance of experience in international rugby as a coach, not as a player. It's a lot more different when you're a coach. It's a lot more understanding of what you can do and what you cannot do. And I think a lot more people don't understand it. And that's why, for me, like as soon as Hugh said that, I said he is spot on. Because if we look at the assistants, I don't know how much depth they in terms of the knowledge of the game. Super, you spoke about the wingers of the New Zealand working into other spaces and Dave Rennie giving them the freedom. I actually like that as well. But where I differ with New Zealand is those wingers are being used in the 22, so in your green zone. And I feel that's when they should be hanging out on the 5 meters on the touchline, because then you are always a threat. Because if there's no one in front of you, the fly can easily pull a trigger behind the back and throw a cross kick or a skip pass. And I think there was a couple of times when New Zealand was in the 22 attacking, and I could see a massive spaces on the short side, but there was no one there because they've been working. So I think that's
punching in the middle.
I think that's where maybe they can change that plan when they get into the 22. Just change the mindset and say, okay, wingers, sit on those 5 touchline and just wait for your time.
Not fair, Jade.
No, man, I just wanted to give a few points regarding this game, and I agree with Vickers what he said there in terms of the wingers. And obviously, I mean, I think Caleb Clark's directive when he comes on the field, he is going to play like that. I think his impact when he comes on from the bench. I think the 23 jersey can be his now. You know, I think that is where he's come on and he made a massive difference yesterday. So yeah, I think that might be his jersey that's going to use now moving forward. However, if you're looking at Ireland yesterday, and their strength has always been under the Farrell regime, has been set pieces. So striking from lineouts, striking from scrum, striking from the tap and go. So that's where they've been, they've been their strength. And yesterday, the lineouts, they were so rushed. Oh, yes, they did better at lineouts than what they did against Australia. But they were so rushed. We saw the first lineout, them throwing straight to Jamison Gibson Bach in front, speeding it up. Then there was a few times in the middle of the lineout where I think it was Tennisberg didn't even jump. So it was a planned move, not going to jump. They're just going to throw it in, get it in and out. Now, what manipulation do you have of the pack that you're playing against if you're going to sit and strike from there? It's going to be very, very difficult to do that. So I think they rushed their lineouts. The scrums was channel 1 ball. They didn't actually want to go to the scrum a lot. The scrum was a lot channel 1 ball and they went. And that took the strike weapons away from them. That's where Ireland become accustomed to. I mean, positives from Ireland yesterday. Joe McCarthy was absolutely brilliant yesterday. He had 16 tackles, 16 carries, and he had over 23 tackles yesterday. That for a lock is a massive, massive shift. But he's the only one, that you can really say, yay, I put in a shift yesterday. Maybe the 14 winger and Keenan as well. But if you look at the way New Zealand played, we speaking so much of the speed of ball and, recycling the ball quickly. Their top carry yesterday was Contepomi at 13. In a system where attack shapes these days are set up, the 13 doesn't touch the ball that much, He doesn't get the first phase ball. So it doesn't mean that Jody Barrett's not getting the ball. He's getting a lot of ball. But Contepomi took up the ball 16 times yesterday. So that just shows you the way that there's different pictures that the All Blacks are creating, For me, Tupovai at 6, I like him at 6 because there's nobody better at the moment in New Zealand. So I think he's a safe option. There's nobody better,
Shannon Frizzell.
No, man. First. He first needs to play for Otago or Tasman this weekend before we can talk about him. But yeah, Vi at 6 gives more options, to utilize their locks because their locks are their strength. I saw a comment from, I think it's Nick Mallet stating that the New Zealand locks would be the 6th or 7th choice lock in South Africa. I'm like, dude, are you serious? I mean, Josh Lord had a stellar performance.
Nick Mallet.
Good performance. Daddy's been good. You still got Holland coming back in. So you settle that lock. So I'm thinking Vi might be, something they can look at. And what I like of Tupovai is he's got a little bit of bullshit in him where he gets under the skin of players, and you need a player like that, You don't want to be a bunch of nice guys on the field. You want to have one player that's really irritating, get under the skin of other players.
Brad Thorne.
Dane Coles was like that, Ian is like that. You can just to
Jerry Collins.
Jerry Collins, yeah. So you're gonna you need that guy, in that pack just to say, you can't have a bunch of nice guys making TikToks the whole time. You gotta have that one guy that's just gonna be a nuisance, gonna be a nuisance. TikToks. But yeah, overall, before we move on to the next segment, but overall, I think Dave Rennie will be looking now and thinking, okay, I've got a squad of 34, 35 here now. So now I need to add another 12 players and come to South Africa.
Hey, he needs to add another 20.
But he's only adding 12.
Oh, I need a big squad, man, that travels to South Africa.
He's only adding 12, so it looks like it's 45, 46. It's coming down. And also, we need to understand, there's a big loss there. Not a big loss, but what is the situation on Tamaiti Williams? Is he going to be in South Africa? Because he's one of those guys that
you definitely need.
Make a difference, he's needed in South Africa.
Fair. All right. No, sounds good. Next one, guys. Springboks against Wales last night. A lot of obviously talk regarding the depth that the Springboks have. A lot of chat around the multiple players that have been used as well by the Springboks. Vickers, maybe you can kick us off here. Wiese brothers looking very dominant. Is Etzebeth actually the like-for-like replacement for Etzebeth, Wiese?
I think he's even better, dude. His ball carries. I think he's even better.
It was amazing last night.
Honestly, I think, look, Scoop, if you look at his pace and the way he gets into contact, I think he's actually better than Eben. But that's a story for another day. So I think, look, we spoke about the way that Ireland were coming off rest. This is exactly what happened to South Africa. If South Africa was playing an Australian side, an Argentinian side, a New Zealand side in Durban, Irish side, they would have lost that game. They would have lost that game because they were so
Scrappy.
And that's not to say the players were bad. No, it's just that the level of the trying to play the game at a high intensity and what you've come off a rest, a 2-week rest, because you can essentially call it a 2-week rest. They were not sharp at all. They were not clinical, and that's the problem. Is that at international level you have to be clinical. The only thing that got them away from that is because Wales are just not at the standard of the Springboks at the moment. In fact, of most of those top 5 teams.
Yeah. Fair.
If you guys look at, I was actually, when I was watching this game, the only 2 things I thought about was, I don't know if you guys maybe will agree with me. If in international rugby, if you don't have dominant ball carriers, you're in trouble. If you don't have dominant tacklers, you're in trouble. Those are the only 2 things at the moment that the Springboks are doing. They're making ball carries that are dominant. Your Jasper Wieses, your Sia Colises, your Damien Dialendes, your Jesse Krills. They're making dominant carries. Then, when it comes to defense, they're making double tackles and driving you back. And that's what's saving them. And I think if you can, if you're an international coach and you're looking at a design of your team, if you don't have those, you're going to struggle. And I think that's why teams like Japan just can't get over the line. They can't get over to the next level. They sit on this one level because they just don't have the physicality that these other teams have. And with Japan, for example, including those 3 or those 3 foreigners, it makes their team a lot more better.
Yeah.
If you look at Scotland, for example, Scotland have got Duan, they've got Tuipolotu, all of a sudden their team looks better. So I think for me, that's when I was watching this Springbok game, the only thing I thought, shame, man, Wales, they just don't have carriers.
What a shame, man.
Pushed back. Yeah, but they were getting pushed back. It was almost like a first team versus under 15A game.
Oof.
I promise, because they didn't look like they were coming. I mean, there was a point where they played like 6 phases, 7 phases, but they just kept on going backwards because the carries are not dominant. And I think that, if you take that scoop and you say, let's take that same situation, give it to a team that's got ball carriers, proper ball carriers, I think the Springboks would have been blowing.
Oh, fair.
So
fair.
For me, I think in terms of the game, I wouldn't even analyze the game. I think you guys also will probably agree. The game was scrappy. There was nothing you can really pinpoint in that game. I mean, for even to show that even Peter Steph Tutoy was not even thinking. He had an option of a scrum. He didn't even go to the scrum. He said they want to do a line-out because they probably want to practice their line-outs. So those kind of things for me were just... so those kind of things that just say that this game was just one of those games that you had to just rock up for the fixture, play the fixture, go home, and think about Argentina. Yeah.
Fair. But, I mean, you raised very interesting points with the scrappiness, obviously. But, I mean, with these amount of changes, because I think even against Scotland, you could see some lapses of concentration. Yes, they were clinical once they got into the Scottish 22. They converted territory into points. And also with Wales, for me, what I'm noticing is the lack of cohesiveness within the Springbok side. I mean, previously, we knew what the starting lineup would be. We knew who the locks would be, etc. You knew what the props would look like, and that was game after game after game. And there was structure. I mean, those guys have been playing together since 2019, roughly, right? Until, let's say, 2024 or 2025. But now in 2026, obviously, with the amount of injuries that have taken place and the amount of changes, you can see the lack of cohesiveness within this group. And obviously, that's why certain things are not really gelling as we might have thought. Obviously, the scrum works. You don't need a lot of cohesiveness there. Obviously, the line-out works. You don't need much cohesiveness there. You just need a bit of timing. etc. But just in general play, in terms of defensive effort or defensive lapses, yes, it might have been a 0, but against Scotland, there were some defensive lapses, and Scotland exposed those defensive lapses. But previously, they were more connected and more aligned in certain elements. And I think, Vickers, you touched on this last week as well, where players obviously understand each other, they know each other. But here you have a few positional changes, and maybe at times certain players might be individualistic, but I mean, you had to see a bit of injection from a Damian Willemse to start seeing a bit more oomph on attack, etc. Once he came off the bench. But I mean, if they had stuck with the same team roughly for another, let's say, 8 up until like the 70th minute, maybe Wales could have found some gaps here and there. But like you said, they don't have the personnel to kind of really punch up that Springbok defense. Griffin, your thoughts on this game, on the Springboks? I mean, have Wales improved? I mean, the last time Wales and Springboks met, it was 76. This time around is 42. Springboks weren't impressive, let's be honest. But obviously, let's not what's the word I'm looking for? Let's not be discouraged on the effort Wales have put in this game away from home. Let's not forget, Springboks put 76 in Cardiff, and Wales were playing away from home, had to travel to South Africa. And they had played Japan Argentina the previous week, if I'm not mistaken. And now traveling to South Africa, playing South Africa in Durban, and holding them up to a 42-pointer, I think it's pretty impressive considering what we've seen from Wales previously.
I don't know, man. The effort is a non-negotiable for me. And I don't think that there has been, a question over the effort or the desire from the players for the most part. But I don't think it's unreasonable for me to expect a bit of quality at some point, a bit of something, give me something that makes me think that on the field you have a bit of skill that you like. I've been watching a lot of the Tier 2 competition, the Nations Cup, and I'm watching your likes of your Chiles, your Zimbabwe's, these level of teams, and I'm seeing players in those sides. Would any of them get into the Wales team? Probably not, or very few. But I'm seeing these guys just get the ball in their hands and back themselves and try something and show a bit of magic, a bit of footwork, a bit of inventiveness, a bit of character in terms of how they play the game. And I'm not seeing that from Wales. I'm seeing effort, I'm seeing graft, I'm seeing them get off the floor and go again. Yeah. Like I said, that should be a non-negotiable. I'm not seeing from Wales anyone get the ball and go, hey, look what I can do. Look at this quality that I have. Look at this talent that I have as a rugby player. I think it was, I saw an interview with Rio Ferdinand once, and he said, like, if you ask someone what's a player like, and the first thing they say is he works hard, then he knows that you're no good. Then he knows that you're done, that you're not gonna mess with them, because you want someone to say, oh, he's got great footwork, he's got great rugby IQ, he's got great speed, he's got great physicality. But no, oh, he works hard, so that just shows that he's not got anything else to him, and that's what Wales are at the moment, unfortunately. Because you say it's improved, I think in some ways it was worse. Oof. And I just think that in terms of on the ball, look, we're comparing two games where Wales got nilled, okay? Yeah. So it's kind of it's difficult to compare, but I think Springboks, in terms of from Springboks' point of view, were the Springboks 50% as good as they were when they played us in Cardiff? I think so. I think the team on the field was worse. I think the performance they put in was worse. Obviously, the conditions, the humidity, the greasy ball had a big impact on that. But I think the Springboks were twice as good when they played us last time. So there's that kind of mitigation. And ball in hand with the attack, Wales really showed nothing in this game. Really, absolutely nothing to them in attack. The fly half situation now, Dan Edwards at number 10 played 80 minutes for Wales yesterday. He threw 2 passes. 2 passes as a test fly half in 80 minutes of rugby. I've never seen that before, and I hope I never see it again from any team.
Was there a reason for this? Are they trying to play off
I don't know,
nine most of the time?
because we had a guy come off the bench at inside centre at half time. He threw 4 passes. So
It's a confidence
you
thing.
got to ask. Yeah.
Sorry,
Go on,
it's a
go on,
confidence thing because remember, being a 10 is all about confidence. It's all about reading the game and understanding what you need to do to make sure that your team gets ascendancy. And if you're not confident because of the opposition, then this is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to go back to your shell, and like Hugh said, now these kind of things are going to happen.
Okay, no, fair enough. Griffin, you good with the numbers?
The kicking numbers.
Yeah.
No, because the Nations Championship website has crashed.
Oh,
So I
sneaky
can't get the
little.
stats.
All right, no worries. Jade, your thoughts on this game? Wales and Springboks?
For the box, I'm going to keep it short and simple. For the box is a game, where a guy gets a cap and you just want to forget about the game because I don't think they'll be happy the way they played. I know, you can blame the humidity and everything, but I'm not sure, Rassi will be happy in that box. I think the score was 40 points to 0 or 40 something 0. But I don't think, Rassi was for one moment happy with the way the box played there. They started fast. Again. The third time they had like house on fire. And then they plateaued again. Same thing again against Wales. And Wales offered no threat to them. Besides, was it Williams kicking the ball and having kicking good out of, with box kicks and kicking good out of hand? That was basically the only positive that Wales really had yesterday. The scrum was nowhere. There was one calamity where I think it was Blair Murray, who he was preventing a 50-22 and he kicked the ball. He volleyed it. He didn't kick it out. He volleyed it forward. And
I saw
the box covered the ball but lost it again. And the Welsh prop was standing in no man's land, not knowing what to do, and he got penalized. And that just sums up the game yesterday. It was one of those games. I'm not sure how the Welsh coach takes positives from this. Maybe his defense, we could look at it. But I mean, there was a few times when the box, passes didn't go to hand, accidental obstruction, forward passes or so. I think Peter Step was over the line twice or thrice, and got chalked off because of infringement. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how Wales take, but what learnings they take from this. Besides, they nowhere near physical. Scrum, they nowhere. The box concern again is line out time. You look like you can put them under serious pressure on the line out time. I agree with Vuyo in terms of what he says with Kobus Wiese. At the moment, with the current form, I would choose Kobus Wiese ahead of Eben.
Oof.
All his experience and everything. But the Eben that we've seen this year, I think Kobus Wiese is playing better rugby. Now, whether he'll do it, I'm not saying, overall he's a better player. Don't put me there and everybody come after me. But Kobus Wiese has been playing better rugby than Eben this season. And at the moment, if you're picking on form, Kobus Wiese would be your lock. And I think that's what Vuyo was saying as well. But yeah, other than that, looking at the guys that got debuts yesterday, Jaco Williams, Moyo, yeah, it was a solid start for them. I think they got debuts ahead of the time. Ruben van Heerden as well, another one. I think they got debuts 2-3 seasons ahead of the time, but it was a solid start for them. And back applause. How's your Yankees coming off the bench yesterday? Wow, we lost Wiese. We see his name. But yeah, it was a okay. I wouldn't say okay game. I would say the box would just put it one behind them and look forward to Argentina and get the work for the greatest rivalry now. But for Wales, Scoop. I don't know what learnings to take from here. That is my honest question and my honest concern of Wales. What learnings do they take from here? Where do they go to from here? You can't be positive at your set piece. There was nothing. The attack there was no attack shape. There was one where it was, I think it was the inside center. They took a ball from a line, top of a line, and then he ran straight into Damon Dale, and then Malcolm Marx was standing there jackling over the ball. And it was so calamity. We're seeing Dan Edwards trying to clean Malcolm Marx there. I'm like, you're setting up play here, but you're not just looking who's around you. You're going to consider a turnover here. But anyway, but that's where Welsh rugby is at the moment. That they're in a serious trouble, and they're so far of the top teams. But yeah. That's my concern or my view on this game. It's one
Yeah,
of those
no,
games
fair,
to put it
fair,
behind
fair.
you.
Since we're talking about comparisons regarding obviously the Springboks now, in this case, so the number 6 jersey, Paul de Villiers, 3 tests, Vickers. Will we see more of him now in that jumper in this greatest rivalry tour?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe. I don't know if Jade, what you think. I think maybe he could be taking the bench ahead of Escom, and Escom could be the next reserve hooker. So you can have those two. So yeah, I don't know if he will be featuring, because I mean, at the end of the day, we all know Sia is going to be the man. He's going to be the main guy. But in terms of the bench, I think he is pushing for that bench, and I would put him ahead of Escom at the moment. But that does not mean Escom is out of the 23. So Escom, we could see Escom go to 16 jersey. I don't know. Yeah, but it's interesting. And I mean, the kid is just he's a workhorse. He reminds me actually of 100% quite a
100%,
lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
he's exactly, yeah. Just
because then also on that same topic, I mean, everyone keeps talking about Eskom moving to hooker, moving to hooker. What happened to Joseph Dweba? I mean, we know Monambi is still working hard, obviously in the background, to try and get fit and back into the Springbok camp again. I mean, is there an issue? I mean, Hugh touched on this in terms of line out. Jade has touched on it again this week, line out. Is there a problem at hooker for the Boks? Because Marks is there, yes, we get it. But if we get Marks injured before the greatest rivalry, what happens to that number 2 jersey?
yeah, Scoop. I actually had a conversation on TV yesterday. I was on a Zoom call, and I actually spoke about it. I said, because they were asking me about the depth of the Springboks, and I
Yeah,
said, funny enough, as much as they have depth, but they are in trouble at number
period.
2 and number 10.
Yeah,
They're in trouble at number 2 and number 10. And I think if they have to start looking at those positions, those are the main positions they'll have to focus on. I think I mean, Joseph, we all knew the moment Joseph didn't go to the World Cup 2023, he was out. So
oof,
he's no more a conversation. So I
damn.
think for you, yeah. So he probably had a fallout with the coaches. Exactly same as Ackerman, van der Merwe. He was playing his best rugby. Everyone was calling
Yeah,
Akker this, but we all knew he had a fallout with the coaching staff, so he could never come back into the mix. So yeah, there are two hookers that you probably could have been obviously
the
the
backup.
fighting for the backup.
Yeah,
But in terms of this Hugo Venter kid, look, he's not bad, but
he's
I
not
think for
standard,
me,
man.
he's not. If you have to look at the two hookers that we have, which is Bonambi and Marks,
Marks.
I don't think he would push them to the
Yeah,
limit.
yeah.
And I think that's why, for me, the sooner they decide now this year, 2026, to move Escom to hooker, the better for the Springboks, because by the time he goes into the World Cup in 2027,
Yeah,
he
who
should be
knows the
more comfortable. Yeah, he should be
100%.
very comfortable when it comes to that.
No fair. Thoughts from Hugh and Jade?
Eskom's position on hooker is just going to be the number. It's just going to be safety. You're going to see Malcolm Marks go very deep into a few tests, and the concern is, when does he get into that red zone? Let's be honest here, Malcolm Marks doesn't have the best injury record. There's always, in every 2 years or so, there's one long injury that they have.
Long term, yeah.
Long-term injury. So it's something that they need to take precaution of. I don't think Grobelaar is a bad hooker of the Bulls. I think he's a good hooker. I think he's the number 2 at the moment. But it's just that, how much time are they going to give Malcolm Marks? And that's evident with their team selection, Scoop. So when you see their team selection and you see Marco van Staden listed at 16 with an Hendrik Wessels there, or even with an Hendrik Wessels at 16th, you know that Malcolm Marks is going to go deep to the 70th minute or so. But if you do see Grobelaar on there, then you might know that, okay, Marks will get 30 minutes off today, So that's where Rassie gives it away in terms of selection. They're just going to have to be very careful with that tactic with Marks. Very, very, very careful. Because, like I said, Marks is somebody that, he's prone to an injury now and then, and it's quite a big injury, that it does pick up. Other thing that Vio did mention there with Paul de Villiers, I see him as being Kwagga Smith's replacement. Quagga Smith was the bomb squad. He was the guy on the bomb squad that came on and won games, and the market he did over the ball. And even though Quagga Smith played, Eskom came up from the bench as well. So I do see, Paul de Villiers taking Quagga Smith's position this year's bench, and he'll be that.
Where is Quagga?
Injured. He's out for the season.
He's out. He's out for the year, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Jade, on your comment, what you are telling us at the moment is that if Malcolm Marx gets injured in the first game of the World Cup, Grobler is starting the whole World Cup.
Wow.
That's the way it is now. One to keep an eye out on is under-20 captain, but I think the World Cup will come too soon for him. I think he'll be the next one being phased into the squad because he looks like a good prospect. But I do see that the thing is now that Grobler is number 2, with Bongi being injured and he can't get back to his best that he was. So for me, Grobler, if Marx gets injured in the first game, we'll go back to Grobler for the rest of the tournament. Yeah.
Is Dion Fourie in the squad?
No.
Easy that Sasa. Easy. No, wait for
No. Dion Fourie, please, Vickers, please. I mean, guys, what do you make of Apelele Fassi in the past 2 games? I don't think he had one of his greatest games against Scotland. I don't think he had a good game against Wales last night as well. Is a wee bit off, I think, of his best. I mean, I think 2024 was probably, or 2025 was probably one of his best seasons, but he's taken a dip. And if you don't have Willemse, who is behind Fassi at 15?
Quinn Horn. So Horn. Horn will probably be the next guy.
Jeez.
But quickly, Scoop. What you're talking about now is Fassi. I was actually looking at him on the weekend. Guys, I don't know if you've picked up. He's picked up a lot of weight, and I think that is starting to affect his game. Because if you look at him, he used to be a skinny fella. He used to be, but now he seems to be a little bit bulked up. I think also because of the injury. Remember, he didn't play much in the back end of the URC because he was injured. So he came straight into the box after his injury. So I think he's carrying a little bit of extra weight.
Oh, okay. No, fair enough. So hopefully that can be fixed quite easily. And Wales, Griffin, I mean, the first 3 scrums, you can see you under pressure, right? Actually, the first scrum, you can see you under pressure. I mean, remember Japan 2015 against the Springboks? The ball just goes in and it's immediately out. We saw Italy when they traveled to South Africa, and Rassi, I think he posted a clip as well on Twitter about how they feed the ball in the scrums. I mean, that ball just goes straight under the hips of the prop and straight to the 8th man at the back, who just sticks his hand in, pulls the ball out, is out the scrum. To avoid penalties at this level, I mean, I expected a lot more from Wales in that regard. I mean, if it's your ball, you know how quickly that ball needs to go. I mean, even with my team that I coached, I was a technical assistant, I think 2-3 seasons ago, and we called it a pillar ball. So basically, that ball, I mean, we didn't have the best of scrums. All you had to do was just feed in, ball out immediately. It doesn't even take 2 seconds for that ball to sit in that scrum, because once you keep the ball at the back of your 8 with the Springbok dominance, I mean, come on, we're asking for trouble. Is it Wainwright who was playing 8th man? Yeah. I saw him and he tried to pull the ball out. What is it? About 30 centimeters from his own goal line. I'm like, come on, bro. You can do better than this. Anyway, guys, obviously the debate or the conversations, I think, Vickers, maybe you must kick us off on this one. There's a lot of talk now currently after these 3 weekends of Nations Cup about how teams are attacking. We spoke about the All Blacks keeping ball in hand. Springboks are kicking quite a lot. France, I'm not too sure about the French game or how often. Hugh can probably give us insight on this, obviously, from what we've seen over the past couple of years. Springboks, we know they do a lot of attack kicks. What I mean by attack kicks, trying to regain possession instead of keeping ball in hand like the All Blacks do. But in terms of what we've seen in this past 3 weekends, can we effectively say each team uses their own strengths where kicking is concerned? So Boks, we know what to expect. We know where they will kick. I mean, they kicked even during the Welsh game. I don't think they had a lot of purchase in terms of retained kicks against Wales than they did against England, for example. I think against England, it worked perfectly. Against Scotland, it wasn't really effective, or, I mean, it almost felt like giving possession away in a way. And against Wales, there was a lot of loose ball, scrappy ball, which Boks did not retain. I mean, is it working effectively? I mean, we're looking at the All Blacks. Their strategy now is to run backwards towards their own goal line and then then that body is underneath the ball, so that if the guy is jumping from behind you, you're already behind the ball. You're already under the ball, right? You're not running into the ball and creating that 50-50 jump in the air, the ball goes loose, and you potentially knock the ball forward, and you have a scrum, which now gives the Springboks ascendancy. It gives, because for the Boks, if that ball goes forward or backwards, for them it doesn't really matter. If they get a scrum out of that, they believe that they've won that contest, right? I don't know what your thoughts are on the kicking game, Vickers, and what do you think the strategy is from all the different teams? I mean, the All Blacks, I think they use it more as an exit plan. There's not a lot of chip and chase. There's not a lot of aerial bombs halfway in the halfway of the field. But we've seen them do different kicks in the different weeks, right? I think against France it's between like 17 or 18. Against Italy it's around the same mark, and then against Ireland, all of a sudden that number jumps up to 24. But also with the stats, they're not showing us out of those 24 kicks how many were attack, how many were exits, how many were for territorial gain. But what are your thoughts on this conversation?
Look, I think it all depends on who starts on the wings for the opposition, and hence you go with your kicking strategy or your kicking structure for that game, for that particular game. I think I mean, I haven't focused a lot on the kicking part of the. One thing though, I am quite interested in is that it's the number of I call it front foot kick. That's your kicking between the 5 meter and the 15, mostly from your 13s fullback. A lot of teams now are starting to do those front foot kicks. So not to necessarily get a 50-22, but to get the fullback, the last player, to take the ball into contact, which will force the opposition to then exit from their try line. So I think that's where a lot of teams are going to start going at the moment. So it's basically that gives you the leeway to attack. And if you're not penetrating, then you do the front foot kick, and then you put the opposition under pressure. They literally give you a line out in their half. So that's where I think the game is going at the moment, especially if you look at the conditions. If the weather conditions permit, where in rainy weather or I could call it humidity, I think that's where most teams are going to start targeting those kicks.
Fair, Griffin.
So the Nations Championship website actually breaks down the kicking stats by territorial, contestable, and attacking.
Oh, nice.
And that's what I was trying to look at earlier, but unfortunately the website's now broken, so I can't look at it. But I've got the data for the first 2 games for most teams. Unfortunately, not the All Blacks, but I can tell you that in the first game against France, the All Blacks 58% of their kicks were territorial, which is very high. Not many teams are over 50%. Interestingly, the other team that is over 50% for territorial is Australia. So maybe there's some kind of Super Rugby kind of homogeny coming in there. That's the Super Rugby way of playing. That the only
mentality,
the only reason that you kick the ball is to get it down the other end of the field, to get it away from your try line. Yeah. If you look at 2 teams who've decided that contestable is definitely the best way to go, you're talking South Africa, you're talking England. Both of those very clearly decided that they want to put the ball in the air and they want to compete for it. The Springboks in the first two games, 36% of their kicks were contestable, which is the most of anybody. England down at 32%, so still a third of their kicks being contestable. But England, impressively, in those first two games, one of which was against Fiji, so there's context for that, guys. It's a small sample size, but England actually retained more than they didn't. So in those 21 contestable kicks in those first two games, England retained 11, so just over half, which is very impressive. Yeah. The Boks, that's by far the best of anybody else who kind of contested a lot. But like I said, that it does include against Fiji, who were terrible in that game. So those are the kind of two trends of two teams who have definitely decided that they want to be contestable. Argentina, again, highly contestable. Argentina, a lot of attacking kicks as well. Argentina and Scotland, in those first two games, both over 50% attacking kicks. And I'm not sure the exact definition that this website is using for attacking, but I'm thinking that's like grubbers or kick passes or something like that. Not necessarily contestable, but more of a kick pass, if that makes sense. So those are kind of differences. And you are seeing a big diversion, especially between the All Blacks and the Springboks, a big diversion between those two of how they're approaching kicking. For the All Blacks, kicking is about getting the ball down the other end of the field. For the Springboks, the kicking is about getting the ball back. And that is a big difference between the two. So that's probably the main tactical difference. Well, one of the main tactical differences.
Where is France in all of this?
Into the greatest rivalry tour.
Yeah, 100%. Where is France in all of this?
So France is quite mixed. So a lot of attacking kicks, 48%. So kind of up there for attacking kicks. Contestable, a bit down. And I think that's maybe one place where they probably are missing Dupont is that his contestable box kicks are a level better than Luku's, in my opinion.
Okay.
Luku is better with the territorial kicks. Luku gets greater length on his kicks. But France, only 2 games in, but probably more attacking, maybe less contestable than some of the others, but still more than the likes of New Zealand and Australia.
Fair enough. Jade, your thoughts going into... Okay, jump in, Vickers.
So just to... Sorry, Jade. Just to comment on the kicking, the New Zealand kicking. So if you look at... back in the days, there was a thing when we said kick long, find grass.
Find grass, yeah.
Yeah, so what New Zealand is doing now, they're kicking the ball. Yes, they're kicking it directly in the middle because you're guarding the 50-22 areas, the 15 to the touchline area. So they kick it in the middle. So what they want to do is put you under pressure so that your kick is a bad kick. So you're either going to kick it out to touch, which is obviously, again, a set piece, or it's going to be a bad kick, which will give them their counter-attack opportunity.
Yeah, fair, 100%. Jade, your kicking strategy going into this greatest rivalry?
I think people are under the misinterpretation of the way New Zealand that they're against kicking. The successful All Blacks teams kick the hell of a lot, but they wouldn't kick pointlessly. The issue is this box kicking, up and down box kicking, and that's the complaint that's coming around that side there. We've seen them using a lot of kicks as a weapon. We've seen them going with the crossfield kicks. We've seen them kicking a ball deep. I think it was the Crusaders under Dan Carter. They did it with the Bulls. They kicked the ball deep, and they kicked it in no man's land, and they allowed, I think it was Johan Roots and Zane Kirschen at the time to, when they kick the ball from there, they give the ball back to you. So that was a tactic, that they did use successfully against the Bulls in the early 2000s or so. And New Zealand, we've seen them doing it a lot. We've seen also them also go up, with contestables with when they had what they called was their bomb squad with Corey Jane. I think it was Richard Kahui and Israel Dag, where they would kick a lot of tactical kicks up and unders and chase. So they do kick a lot. However, this whole talk of New Zealand anti-kicking, they're going to run the ball. New Zealand not going to run the ball from deep against South Africa. They're not, unless it's something really, really on. So that's for me. They, like Vuyo said, they use the tactic of kicking the ball to get the ball back. Now, has it been working? For the past few years on the Rays, it hasn't been working. I mean, there's times that you see New Zealand play around in their own, not 22, but let's say between their 50 and their 22, playing around and sitting up phase after phase there, and then getting a turnover, losing the ball, or making a mistake, and then it's points against them. They're under pressure. So under Rays also, they still tried and played around. The Foster, he didn't allow that. Foster kicked. Aaron Smith he kicked it away. So Rennie has to find that balance, as to, we have Cam Roygard who's a good kicker. We have Jody Barrett who's a good kicker. I mean, Ruben Love, it looks like he's finding a 50-22 a game now. He's just finding it. He kicks good out of hand. And David McKenzie as well. That's a good kicker as well. And remember this, that whole backline basically, it's got a boot on him. So we have to find that balance of kicking a ball and know when to run, and having that good balance between the two. I don't think they have the balance now. I think they're still running more than what they should be kicking, right? But against Africa, they're not going to do it. South Africa, on the other hand, they do it as a weapon. They look to their up and unders and their box kicks as a weapon, and they tactically also try and view to make a mistake or try and get the ball back there. So they try and camp in you off. So kicking the ball up, they fancy their chances. They fancy Curtly Arons and those guys getting it. And also, the other thing, if you look at it, South Africa, when they score a try, and they get the ball back, the exit play is outstanding. Kobus Reinach kicks deep, Andre Pollock kicks deep, they put you back in your half or close to the half. New Zealand hasn't found that balance yet, Scoop, and it's been an Achilles heel for them for a few years now.
I think Roygard is the only one who's exiting.
Roygard's the only exiting. We saw Jody Barrett, the first kickoff of the game. He caught it, and boop, he sent it down. So that's a big Achilles heel of New Zealand rugby as well. But Africa, if you look at the exit play in terms of the kicking, they do it well, and they exit very, very good because they, even if they catch it, set up two phases and then exit from there, they're very good at that. So yeah. Scoop, in terms of we're finding as misinterpretation, we're finding it thinking that everybody from New Zealand is anti-kicking and doesn't want them to kick, want them to play touch rugby and throw the ball around. No, they don't want it. They know every New Zealand supporter knows.
International touch rugby.
You can't do that against the Boks. You can't do that against the French. So you're going to have to keep and be smart with your kicking game. Know when to run, when to pass, know when to kick, and know when the situation is on. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. But the interesting thing now, with everybody, and we've seen now, this whole kicking for strategy and the up and down in the escort game, that's not, we're not allowed to use escorts anymore. But every team, even Wales viewed it yesterday, the winger running back, catching the ball over the head.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? And I want to Rio, what's your thoughts on this? Have you seen this new of the wingers? I saw it in Super Rugby. Wingers chase back and they catch the ball over the head, and they don't go up anymore. And this tactic is coming to the game. Rio, what's your thoughts on that?
I've seen it. It's actually trying to block the chaser so that it's almost like I'm also competing for the ball.
Yeah.
No one is around the ball, so I'm also allowed to compete. So basically, we both the attacking team, if you could call it like that. But you know what? For me, I can understand the tactic. It's actually smart, but not when you tap the ball. Because if you remember Lewis Summit yesterday, tapped it with both hands, and the ball went loose.
Yeah.
And then the commentators climbed on that one because it was actually an attacking lineup for South Africa.
They've just
so
caught
I think
it.
it's not. Yeah, I think it's actually not a bad tactic, but it's just that for me, because remember, the chaser has to be behind the kicker.
Yeah.
But you, as a defending wing, you have an advantage. You've got that 5 meter or 10 meter, 7 meter advantage to chase back and do the exactly same thing the attacker is trying to do.
Yeah.
So it is a smart idea, but then catch the ball. Don't tap it.
Yeah.
Because as much as you have people waiting for you to lose the ball, if you lose it, they also can tackle you and get a counter-up going, which will completely mess things up.
The interesting part, sorry, Hugh, I'll let you jump in just now. The interesting part is the officiating of this part, right? Like, for example, if I'm defending wing and I'm running backwards, and because you are the attacking wing, now the responsibility should be on you if you want to jump or not. Because now if you jump and you almost like climb all over me in a way and then fall on your back, how would the officials now start ruling that? How would they bring it into context for a game? Because now I'm running backwards, and if Vickers is jumping Now his hips and quads are pretty much in the same level as my head, standing still under the ball. And then Vickers catches the ball, but I don't touch him. And Vickers falls on the ground. I feel like the referees, if they have to judge this, they should put the responsibility on the jumper to say, hey, you took the risk of jumping, and if you fall awkwardly, it's not the fault of the defending winger. Just one of those things. Anyway, yeah.
Aren't they gonna then in that situation they will penalize the defender because
He's not jumping.
he's the one. Yeah, he's not jumping, so it's almost like one of those blocking situations.
Yeah.
I think the most important for that player is to start shouting "my ball, my ball." I think that will give the ref. I think that will give the ref the positive sign that he's gonna jump, but then he has to jump, Scoop, because at the end of the day, if I am chasing back exactly like the attacking winger, I'm doing the exact same thing, but just that I've got an advantage of 7 meters to chase first.
To chase, yeah. Oof. Okay, I hear you. It's a very interesting one for officials to adjudicate this. Yeah, jump in, Hugh.
Yeah, just going back to what Jade said, with the All Blacks playing, it is depending on which stats you want to choose. The All Blacks probably are still, quote unquote, playing the most in terms of they've done more than 250 passes in every single game. They've done like getting on for 800 passes in these 3 matches so far, which is like crazy high compared to everybody else. So they are still kind of playing in that sense of everybody is getting a lot of touches. It's maybe not the most direct style of rugby, which is probably the other big difference between them and the Boks. If you look at the Boks yesterday, there was only one real attack, especially in that first half, where the Boks went through the phases, went through multi-phase attack, and were willing to have some kind of passive rucks, passive carries, if you like, in order to keep the ball. And that was in the build-up to, I think it was Creel's try. It was the one where Vusi Moyo does the cross kick and they score from that. That was the only kind of attack where South Africa kept the ball through multiple phases. Every other attack, South Africa were trying to go big early. Like within the first 2 or 3 carries, someone either makes a bust or they knock it on. Now, maybe that's impacted by when you've got such scrum dominance, you don't really fear knock-ons, maybe. You're like, okay, we'll knock it on. We're just going to get it back immediately anyway. But that is probably the other big difference is when the All Blacks are playing, they put a lot of passes before contacts in, whereas South Africa, someone's getting the ball and he's running forwards and making contacts the majority of the time.
Trying to run through brick walls. I think when Rennie started, he did mention the fact that he needs a team that's going to be fit. Like Jade mentioned earlier regarding huffing and puffing in the second half. I mean, that's one thing. First thing I noticed as soon as I switched on the telly was, these guys look tired in the second half. I didn't watch the first half. I only got to watch it this morning. But yeah, it was, they were really tired, man. I don't know. Maybe they're overworking or doing too much work during the week. But nonetheless, regardless of that, Italy and Australia. I mean, Australia looking like primetime Wallabies, 1999 Wallabies, beating Italy by 50. I mean, Italy did not show up in this game. And obviously, Australia, we know they had a 31-point lead in the first half. And we kind of said, is this another first half lead? And then obviously they kept on, or they maintained that lead throughout the game. And a very good send-off for Joe Schmidt. And yeah, Les Kiss starts taking the role now, guys. I don't know what your thoughts are with Joe Schmidt Australia under Joe Schmidt. He didn't have a lot of wins. I mean, he's probably his one highlight would probably be beating the Springboks at Ellis Park. And yeah, I don't know, Jade, your thoughts on Les Kiss taking over, and what's your thoughts on Joe Schmidt with this Wallabies team?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a stat earlier that narrated Joe Smith's top 5 moments in the Wallaby jersey, as a coach, not the Wallaby jersey, but as a coach. And I mean, the top one was obviously beating the Boks in at Ellis Park, and the second one was beating the Lions in the third test, and the third one was leading the Lions by 21 points at half time. So I'm looking at it as not. There hasn't been a lot of highlights over there, in terms of Joe Schmidt. I think he'll be relieved it's done. I think he knew that this team as far as they could go. They need a fresh ideas there. Last year we thought they were on the right trajectory after they played the Lions. And I mean, it's interesting last year, before they went on the NWA tour, they had the best success on their own ball at scrum time. They were at 100% almost. You couldn't get the ball. They had a very, very good scrum under Micron. And even when they played against the Boks, they weren't swallowed at scrum time. They held it out with Angus Bell, Slipper, Tupau, and I think Zayn Nongrel and LL Atua. So, but then they just went backwards. I mean, I don't see the dominance anymore. I look last week against Ireland, they were good, but I mean, it's not the weapon anymore. I don't know. I don't know what to expect with Leskis. He's getting Mark now into Wasi back from league. He's getting, I think it's Angus Crichton from league. He's getting another player from league. So he's getting a few imports in, but is it going to change their mentality? Is it going to change their mindset?
I think so.
Is it going to change that mental block of them that they're going to allow a team for 10 minutes, even though they're leading by 20 points, they're going to allow their team for 10 minutes to get back into the game. And in that 10 minutes, we saw against France last week, France came and scored 3-4 tries in 10 minutes against them. They're still going to allow that window of opportunity against you, Scoop. So how they're going to change that mentality? Yeah, I mean, Leskis is seen as a true Australian, a real true Australian, a legend in Australian League and Union. I mean, we can go back with Leskis. Wasn't he Harry Viljoen's assistant in the 2000s in South Africa? Didn't we bring him into him and Tim Lane? Didn't come into South Africa back then. So that's how long he's been on the scene. But, Scoop, what mentality, what mindset do they have, What mindset? Are they going to go ahead and challenge New Zealand, or are they just going to roll over? Are they going to go ahead and are they going to beat that team?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. No doubt about that. But I think from what I've seen, or from what he's done with the Reds, I think mentality-wise, I mean, the Reds were no pushover once he started taking that head coaching role after Brett Thorne. And you could see a bit of mental from their perspective, or just the player attitude. I think the Reds, I saw a different attitude once Les Kiss jumped in. And I think going forward, now he will have a lot of Reds players in his Wallabies team, but maybe he might bring that edge that the Wallabies need. They just need a bit of edge.
Can I give you a stat there? So you saying that he did bring something to the Reds, after Brad Thorne. The Brumbies, the Reds are a better team than the Brumbies on paper. Hit the Brumbies in and up above them, Under Brad Thorne, the Reds won Super Rugby Australia. So did he really have a better?
Man, that's Super Rugby Australia.
They won.
Come on.
They ended above the Brumbies. The Brumbies always ended above the Reds under Leskis. I'm just saying, I don't know. What has he done in the Reds, the two?
No, I just think a different mental and I think different attitude, man. I think he will bring a different attitude to this team. I think he's a hard-nosed guy, and he will basically have, obviously he's got now the whole national team. And I think what Joe Schmidt has done in his past 2 seasons is give a lot of players opportunities. So now at least in terms of players that have caps, he's got that. He just needs to play around and find the good connection and find a good rhythm and find good cohesion that works best for the Wallabies. And I think him having Selekai Lotto come back, having Will Skettleton come back, and obviously Marky Mark coming back, the Wallabies team can look a bit different, I think. And there's opportunity there for them.
They can, but what does it do with his assistants? Does all of Leskis' assistants go, or what? Because
Joe Schmidt's assistants.
I mean, Joe Schmidt, does all of his assistants go? Does he get?
That's a tricky one.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah. What's his name? Is it Laurie Fisher?
Yeah.
His halftime interview was he's gone. So.
Oh no.
Yeah. So because he was saying, he made a comment and said, yes, it's been a tough journey. Now after this game, obviously there's changes and it's our last game as a coaching group and what. So It seems like the assistants are going.
Damn. Okay, that's going to be a tricky one. Anyway, I think we can leave it at that. Hugh, final comments, just based on Nations Cup. What are your thoughts regarding that? Is it good, or we're still yet to see some good from this competition in the autumn series?
Yeah, I think it remains to be seen how long the Northern Hemisphere guys are going to do the travel, basically. You know, with the schedule that the likes of England, Wales and Scotland have had of going between South Africa, the UK and Argentina in consecutive weeks. We've already seen that Ireland refused to travel to Japan. I can see that happening more, to be honest. I think that France next time will be like, well, why are we traveling to Japan? You know, so I can see the Northern Hemisphere teams refusing to travel moving forward. But apart from that, the rugby's been good, mostly. The rugby's been entertaining. And I just want to shout out, we haven't talked about it on this pod, but I want to shout out the Tier 2 competition, the Nations Cup, which has had the other 12 teams that are going to be at the next Rugby World Cup. I think this has been a big success. So they've staged all of these games in the Americas, so either in Canada, USA, or South America.
Yeah.
And we've seen some really competitive games. We've seen some nations like Hong Kong and Zimbabwe and guys like that who wouldn't necessarily get great game time against decent level opposition.
Yeah.
Get competitive games that they can take a lot from, that they can plan around, that they can prepare for. And I think it's been a big success. And shout out as well to Romania, have picked up some really good wins. They looked like they were nowhere in Rugby Europe. They picked up some good wins.
Oh, wow.
And Hong Kong beat Uruguay yesterday.
Never.
Crazy. So Uruguay in big trouble, but a great statement from Hong Kong, who we all thought were going to take 100 points in every Rugby World Cup game.
Yeah.
To beat Uruguay is massive for them. So I think, for me, the Tier 2 version is kind of the real success story for men's rugby this summer, in my opinion.
Oh, fair enough. Final comments, Vickers? Jed, you can jump on and then we'll close it off.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a comment on the Scottish game against Fiji. Did you guys see the pre-match full-on Fijian home game type of stuff? Oh, I don't know what's wrong with the World Rugby, guys. They must just go play in Fiji.
Suva.
Yeah,
Suva is ready because
they were supposed to, because the game is, you made a comment about it last week. The game is supposed to be Fijian home game.
Yeah.
But it's full of Scottish people. So you just don't understand it. It's crazy. But anyway, I think, look, guys, to be a South African supporter at this point, people must be very happy with the South African teams, because SA 20 back-to-back, Springbok Sevens back-to-back, Springbok Rugby back-to-back. Things are looking up. I'm just worried about the downtimes. What's going to happen in the downtimes when it comes? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, once it comes, people will delete Twitter. I can tell you that for free. Jade.
I see there's two over here, and Dabazinto and Scrummins Flower will be walking with targets on their back. But yeah. Anyway, guys, you know what? Nah? Yesterday, we saw the world's best referee officiate the game and be influenced by the world's best TMO. Worst TMO, sorry. So Angus Gardner being bamboozled by the TMO yesterday with that final try of Argentina, you know, where he actually in his judgment he said it was a try and the TMO went no. So yeah, I think that just something things up for this Nations Cup, you know. But anyway, it's a good competition, like you said, and yeah, we look forward to the greatest rivalry now.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of officiating, so Vickers, I've made a list of officials for the greatest rivalry. So first test, Nick Berry. Second test, Luke Pierce. Third test, Angus Gardner. Fourth test, Carl Dixon.
Oof.
Is that your list?
Rough.
That's my list.
It's like, it's not World Rugby list.
No, it's not World Rugby. It's not World Rugby.
Gosh.
Nick Berry, the first test.
No, he must go. No.
Yes, 100%.
No,
I think he deserves it. He deserves a second.
He deserves a good test in South Africa.
No, James. No.
Since 2021.
No.
Why not?
He doesn't deserve anything.
He'll be great for the first test.
We can get Wayne Barnes out of retirement, and then he can.
No.
We can even give it to the Frenchman. At this point, we can even give it to the Frenchman.
Anyway, all right, guys. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Vickers. Thanks, Jade. Thanks, Hugh. Thanks to the listeners as well. Like I said, follow everyone on this panel, and obviously check out Hugh on YouTube as well. And you can listen to this podcast on Spotify and Apple Pod. If you don't have those two, we've got your backup on YouTube. There is no visuals, just audio. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great Sunday. Have a lovely week ahead. See you guys next week when we do the build-up of the greatest rivalry tour. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, fellas.